Hey guys, for today's video, we're going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes buyers make. And hey, do me a favor. If you like the content, the stories of this video, give us a subscribe or a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Okay, we're going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes buyers make when buying a home. And this has been from my experience, and I have shared this with others in the business, and they say that this is bang on. So here it is for you. Please don't fall into these traps. It can cost you a lot of time. It costs you a lot of money too. Okay, so the very first and the most common mistake I see buyers make is they don't have their financing ready. And this can result in you running around looking at homes for 2-3 months and not even being able to have the ability to afford it. So often this is the way this looks. A couple of Christmases ago, I met with a couple and they were looking to buy their first home. And during our initial consultation, the client says to me, hey, my financing is good, rock solid. He was very, very confident. He said, I went into the bank, I talked to someone there, and they said, you're good to go. You're good to purchase up to $900,000. Bring us an accepted offer. Well, okay, so we start to go out and look at property. We look, we get an accepted offer, and then we're in that due diligence phase. And this is, again, a couple of weeks before Christmas, and he finds out 3 days before the deadline, his banker calls him back and says to him, sorry, actually, we can only give you a loan for about $840,000, and you're about $60,000 short. That's a huge amount of money to have to come up with in 48 hours. And so, I had to work my network and basically put them in touch with the broker that I work with. And somehow we were able to pull this off. It was a buzzer beater, a last minute goal to win it. But the situation is very common. It is the biggest mistake I see, buyers just being overconfident that they've spoken to someone at the bank who's given them the green light. Here is what you really need. When you speak to a broker, anybody worth their weight, or they will issue you a pre-approval document. A pre-approval document is essentially the bank's promise to you on paper to give you XYZ mortgage rate for the next 120 days. You need to get that in writing. It's very easy for the bank to give it to you. They usually issue it to you in about 48 hours once they've received all their documents from you. The types of documents they'll ask you are, pay stubs, bank statements, T4s, tax statements, anything they need from you. You want to provide that to them, and then you get your pre-approval. And that is the key, my friends. It crystallizes what your purchasing cap is. And so we don't go out there wasting your time looking at stuff that you just can't afford, okay? The second thing is trying to time the market. Now in Wall Street, they say, trying to time the market will get your face ripped off. That's a pretty crude and rough way of saying don't do it. And it's not possible. Here's an example. This comes from about 18 months ago. I had a client who I unfortunately had to let go, but in the process, when we were working together, he really had his heart set on a townhouse in the Coquitlam area. And I think this is sort of late 2020, and you could probably get a townhouse there for about $800,000 to $850,000, let's say. 3-bedroom, about 1,500 square feet. And then all of a sudden, the market went on a rocket ship. And he kept waiting and hoping the market was going to go down and believing these headlines that the market was going to go down. And at the same time, we had people getting 1.9% interest rate mortgages. Fast forward 15 months later, and the same type of townhouse is selling for over $1 million. So he finally pulls the trigger. And this is after we had stopped working together because I just didn't sense this client was motivated enough. But anyway, he did end up making a purchase, and he probably ended up buying at $150,000 more than he would have liked to, once you factor in the GST. And of course, fast forward another year, and now we know the market's come back down. So this is just to say that being too cautious may not be the best thing you can do. Sometimes you have to just evaluate your situation. If you're wanting to have a family, your parents are moving to Canada, to Vancouver, you're ready to get a home, sometimes it's just best to go ahead and go do it. I really don't think timing the market is going to work out for you in the long run. It generally doesn't. Okay, the third big mistake I see people make is trying to do it themselves, trying to do too much themselves. So met with a couple, this is again a couple of Christmases ago, and they were trying to do it all themselves. In this instance, the wife is I think about six and a half months pregnant. And at this point, they are sharing their one-bedroom apartment with her parents. So it's the four of them, a baby on the way, five of them in a 600 square foot apartment. Doesn't take too much to realize that that is not a comfortable situation. Anyway, she was sort of following her husband's lead, and he kind of wanted to do it all himself. And well, eventually she put her foot down and said, okay, look, why don't we just talk to a realtor? In this case, it was sort of within our social network, so she knew me quite well. She reached out, and within reaching out to me, I think in about three and a half weeks, we had them a home. And so they were ready to go, and a nice way to finish the pregnancy, being in a calm state, knowing you have a home to move into. And it was quite a large townhouse, over 1,500 square feet. And I think we negotiated about 50, 60, or maybe more, thousands of dollars off the asking price. Timing really worked out well in that instance because they just went and pulled the trigger. But the point I want you to understand is that just trying to do too much on your own, it really helps to connect with a realtor, someone who has your best interests at heart, and they can help you understand the market. Say, you know what, hey, that townhouse or that condo is a little overpriced. We could probably chew $20,000, $30,000 off the price here. So why don't we give it a shot? Okay? So find someone who's going to take good care of you. Obviously, if you got questions, need answers, you can reach out to someone like myself. Happy to help you. Okay, fourth big mistake I see is too many decision makers. Rule of thumb, if there's 3 or more people that are buyers, I find they're not really going to buy. The best is 2 people. That's a husband and wife or a couple. Second best would be an individual. But as an individual, it's nice to have someone in your family you can call. Maybe you have a mom somewhere you can just call. It's nice to talk to someone like myself, and we can exchange ideas and opinions. I point you in the right direction. But at the same time, I really think it's best to have a mom or a dad, that person who you've grown up with, who you feel so comfortable with, who, I've told one client, for example, I said, why don't you just give your mom a call? And after she spoke to her mom said, you know what, baby, you just go for it. You'll be fine. Just go make it happen. And so that's when we went ahead with getting the offer in, and she ended up getting a nice home. So you need to, I think, couples, it's also an advantage because they have each other to support, right? They can bounce ideas off each other, and it just tends to work really well. When there's 3 people involved and you have overbearing parents who are too opinionated, who want to, take over the steering wheel, I find it doesn't work. Too many cooks spoil the broth, right? Fifth and finally, a mistake I see buyers make is unrealistic expectations. So I'll give you an example from earlier this summer, working with a very, very intelligent couple, very street savvy, wise, very coachable. And at one point, the gentleman grew a little bit frustrated, just thinking there were not enough options out there for him. And we had a conference call, and I really just explained to him. I said, look, at the end of the day, right now, our search area is about 8 city blocks. We're looking for something that's new or close to brand new in a specific type of home. In that instance, a half duplex. And all of a sudden, there's not a lot of options like that. We might have 5 or 6 citywide. In a specific search area, we may only have 1 every 3 or 4 weeks. So you really have to understand what your requirements, your self-imposed requirements, are limiting yourself to. And again, that's where when you're working with somebody, you have that free flow exchange of information, you know, to somebody like myself who's maybe done it for 12, 15,000 hours, and I'm able to very quickly kind of point you in the right direction. So those are the 5 big mistakes that I see buyers make, and I wish for you not to have to make them. Don't fall into those booby traps, you know, take those wrong paths. And again, I think reaching out to somebody can really help you here move smoothly towards the finish line and cross it. So hopefully this video has been of help to you, and if you enjoy the content, the stories, give us a thumbs up. We'll see you next time. Thank you.